Picture this. You're in front of your latest prospect, closing the biggest deal of your life. Your pitch decks were perfect. Your scripts, flawless. And when the time came to answer the golden question of, are you ready to move forward? Nothing happened. For everyone who loves sales, this is their worst nightmare. But fear not, because in this podcast, we're unraveling the enigma behind those missed opportunities. From appointments that evaporate to presentations that felt like a Broadway show but ended in awkward silence, we're dissecting it all. Welcome to Love Your Sales.
This podcast is presented by GenHead. GenHead leverages AI so small and medium-sized businesses can find their ideal clients to make more sales. Other companies talk about AI, but we are using it every day to drive down marketing costs and increase revenue. Learn more at genhead.com. That's genhead.com.
Welcome to another episode of Love Your Sales. I am joined today by Susan Trumpler, the founder of Unstoppable Women in Business and She Boss Cafe. Susan is a master at helping women entrepreneurs find their real voice so that they can find their best clients. Her mission is to never hear another woman say they feel salesy or pushy when they are talking about their business. Getting to Yes Faster is her free masterclass that teaches small business owners how to do just that. She has 20 plus years in sales. Susan has an uncanny way to share her best practices and skills to elevate everyone to their highest level in bringing in revenue for their company. Welcome, Susan. I am so excited to have you join me today.
Thank you, Leanne. It is such a pleasure to be here. Thank you for having me.
Yes. Well, why don't we jump right in? I'm excited to pick your brain and hopefully learn some tips, tricks, and offer the audience some of that as well.
Excellent.
So, you and I kind of talked a little bit about what we were going to, discuss today. And you, not only with, getting to Yes Faster, your free masterclass, but one of the topics that we discussed prior to having you, join me was, the decision dynamic and the 6 steps a buyer's brain goes through to make decisions, to their business. And so I'd love to jump into that.
Absolutely. Thank you. It is I am so passionate about understanding what is going on in people's minds because, Leanne, I really believe that the more you're in touch with what your buyer is thinking, the easier it is for you to connect to them, feel authentic, and be able to kind of be in alignment with them during the conversation. So saying yes just becomes a very natural outcome of any sales conversation.
And I find that that's awesome because, in any conversation, a salesperson is always finding a way to get the person to say yes or agree to what they're saying, right? Because as you progress, you want them to continue to agree with you so that at the end, when you say, so does this product solve your problem?
Right.
Do you want to buy from me? That natural reaction is,
Of course.
yes.
Exactly. Yeah, it's a great way to think about it is it's a journey. It's one step at a time. And just like dating, you don't meet someone and ask them to marry you out of the gate, right?
I hope not.
Most people don't. So, should we go on a date together? Should we enjoy dinner? What's the next step in our relationship? If people start to think about sales that way, it becomes much less daunting and they act more like themselves, which then the buyer feels more at home with them as well. So it's just a great way to create relationship.
Yeah. So let's start, what is the first
Yeah.
What is the first step here?
Okay, so out of the 6 steps, they're kind of clustered together. So I'm going to go through step 1 and 2, pretty tightly connected. The very first thing that a buyer will be thinking about as you talk to them about anything is, do I want this? Like, do I want what you offer? And you think that's easy, Leanne. We live in our world. We are passionate about what we do and what we sell. But
Mhm.
if you look at it from the buyer's perspective, it is one tiny little thing that might be on their mind or might not. And until they know that they want what you have to offer, it's really hard for them to get involved in the conversation. Um, let me share this with you because I think it really helps for your listeners to think about how they make buying decisions as I go through these 6 steps.
Mhm.
So if you think about anything that you love to buy, right? More than just going to the grocery store and buying food, but if you're somebody who's a car person, or if you like expensive purses or designer clothes, whatever it is that's your kind of thing. If you think about, and for me, it's cars. I see cars on the road. I pull up next to a car to signal, and I look at this like gorgeous, sleek car, and I call it the drool factor. It's like, oh, that would be nice. I want that, right? So
Mhm.
I have made a quick judgment in my mind. There's something about that car that's appealing to me, and it's really got to do with my identity more than anything. It's like I can see myself in that. I'm transforming into a person who drives that car, and I like myself that way. Put yourself into your buyer's seat and think about what it is that they would really want. What's the personal transformation that would happen if they were to buy from you? And how close can you get to being able to have a conversation around what it is that they want in their lives that you can help them get that they don't have right now? And that's the want factor. So in any conversation, you really need to ask, obviously, you have to ask discovery questions to understand what is holding them back from getting what they want. What is it that they want? Why do they want it? And once you really kind of get that under your skin, then it's easy to have a conversation around what it would look like if they had it. So the want factor is number one.
So I'm going to play devil's advocate
Yeah.
because listeners right now are thinking, well, yeah, I mean, I know what I want. Like, I love diamonds. I love, and
Mm.
those things are glamorous, and those are easy to put yourself in the other on the other side of like,
Mhm.
oh, okay, yeah, I could sell a diamond because it's, anybody who's walking in, or a car, anybody who's walking in the lot, you would think, oh, I just have to appeal to what they're drawn to. But let's talk about
Mhm.
health insurance.
Yes,
Not
let's talk about
glamorous,
that. Not glamorous. You know what else
not
is not
pretty.
glamorous? You know what else is not glamorous?
Life insurance.
No, no, let's stick with health insurance. You know what's not glamorous is going into the hospital and feeling sick to your stomach that you don't know what this is going to cost you,
Right.
right? Everyone knows that tomorrow is never a given, and that at any moment there could be a life situation that would put me into a terrible, terrible bind, right? So it doesn't have to be something, Leanne, that you can see and touch. Those are external problems,
Hmm.
but actually, the best problems to probe around and play around with are the internal problems, the feelings people have, hopelessness, dread, fear. Like, what is it that they are afraid of that your solution could resolve for them? And what would
Wow.
that feel like?
Wow, you did that beautifully. I mean, you didn't even skip a beat. You
Oh,
completely.
no.
I tried to throw a hard. This is a glamour. You turned that around and was like, well, here's how you
Oh,
get to that. Okay,
yes.
Susan, that was amazing. Okay, all
Thank you.
right.
All right. But let's go to number two, okay? Because
Yes.
this is tied tightly together, and we can go back to the glamorous, like the diamond,
Mm-hmm.
or, something like a car, and you see it and you want it. You've got that drool factor going on. The very next thing that your brain is going to go through is step number two. Do I need it?
Mm-hmm.
Unfortunately, I wish my brain wouldn't go there. When I'm looking at that gorgeous Tesla sitting next to me and it's, oh my gosh, it takes off, it doubles, it's, down the road faster than me. Um, because I want it, I'm like drooling, but then I think, where would Wally sit? Like Wally, he's my big guy. I would have to have another car to take Wally around in. So now I'm going through all of this stuff in my mind. Do I really need that?
Right.
And that's, I call that the wah, wah, wah factor. If the want is a drool factor, the need is something that can squash that want. So you really need to understand, like, what is it that they want and do they need it? And are you a fit for them? Are there natural things like that Tesla? It would knock me out of the game because I've got a big golden doodle. So Leanne, the more you understand the person you're talking to and you're listening to them and you're asking them questions. If a car salesman was trying to sell me that Tesla, he'd say, tell me about your family. Tell me about where do you travel? Do you travel, long distances? Do you travel with a lot of luggage or whatever? So a lot of these things, Leanne, it's almost like the elephant in the room if you don't ask the question. Because if we get excited about when someone wants something and we just forge ahead on our path without finding out whether or not the need is there, or there's something blocking the need, then we are really out of alignment with our person who's making the decision, and it's not going to help us by skipping past that step. You've got to do your due diligence. So, do they want it? Do they need it? Step 1 and 2. All right.
Excellent. And there's going to be certain things that want and need are interchangeable, and other things that want and need are on the other end of the spectrum, coming back to the glamorous items where want and need do not typically meet.
They're not aligned.
Whereas,
Yeah.
health insurance, you may not necessarily want, but it is an absolute need.
Yes. And actually, the need could be driving the want on that, because I do want to feel protected and I want to know that I'm not going to go bankrupt if something happens to me. I do want those things. And I need insurance so that I can get what I want. So that goes together perfectly. But one of the problems in this area, Leanne, that I see more often than not is that we assume a level of want and need that may be higher than what our buyer really has. So I call it like a level 5. It's like, yeah, I do want that and I do need it. And so now again, we are zipping off down the road. We're ready to share our solutions and, keep our song and dance going. But if someone isn't at like a level 8 of a want and need, you're going to have a really hard time getting them over the finish line of making a commitment to you. So I would have to say the problem with problems, okay, because everybody knows you should be asking questions and finding out what people's problems are and what you can solve, right? But the problem is that we jump too fast from problem to solution. The solution to that is when you hear a problem, ask 3 more questions and really dig down underneath that problem so that you can get to the emotional experience within that, right? So if somebody says to me, I need health insurance, I want it because I don't want to feel exposed and, worry about unknown bills. And so I do need it. They may be thinking at a very logical level at that moment. And people do not buy on logic. They buy on emotion, right? So my natural, like if I was just a normal salesperson, I'd be like, super, well, let me tell you about the different options that I have for you. But because I know how people make decisions, I will say, tell me a little bit more about that. Have you had any situations in the past where you've been hit with, a bill out of the blue that was more than you thought? Tell me about that. And what was the situation and how did you experience? How did you resolve it? you ask questions about what their experiences have been and what they imagine the experience to be. What you're doing is you're really getting them to live within that problem in that moment, so that as you share how to solve it, it's such a contrast to how they are currently feeling because you've stirred this up in them. This is how the buyer's brain works. Now they're living in that and they're like, oh, I don't want to be here anymore. What do you got? What do you got? Right?
And they're begging, give it to me, please, please.
Please. It's just
Yeah.
a much easier conversation once you get to
Right.
that place.
So now we've gotten through the want, the need. Now
Mhm.
we're moving into step 3.
Yeah. Step 3, 4, and 5 go tightly together, but we'll
Okay.
start with 3. And this is sad too. This is another wah, 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 because you've done a wonderful job this far. And you think you've got them on the quote unquote hook. They're like, oh, they're eating out of my hands. This is going to be awesome. Guess what? The next,
Isn't it every salesperson has had that, like, okay,
oh,
yes, this is
yes.
gonna be easy. And then they go, what? I don't get it. What
I
just
know.
happened?
When
Was
I
I
was
in
a
a
sales,
different was I in a different conversation than this other?
I know.
Oh.
When I was leading a sales team, I used to call that happy ears when the
Mm.
salesperson would come back. Oh, this is a done deal. It's a no-brainer. I'm like, do you have signed paperwork? Well, not yet. I'm like, happy ears.
I
Stop.
know.
It ain't done till the fat lady sings.
Right. I never celebrate a sale until I get paid.
That's exactly. That's right. Because they can always back out, right? Even if they
Mhm.
sign something.
Right.
Anyway, all right. So step 3 is the dreaded part of the brain process, because once I decide that I want something and I need it, the next thing my brain is going to say is, whoa, 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 before you make a decision, what are your choices?
Mhm.
Is there don't hop on now. Sometimes people will zip right through this. I trust this person. I believe in them, right? But other people, when they're making buyer decisions, pause in this phase and they're like, so I do know now that I need something. So now I need to know what choices I have, because I'm not going to just jump on the first thing. I'm going to shop around.
Mhm.
And the higher the ticket, the more people want to shop around.
Mhm.
The bigger the commitment, the more they're going to want to shop around. So you really need to understand what's on their mind in regards to what are my choices.
Mhm.
And that comes to that's why 3, 4, and 5 are really close together. Is step 4 are what are the differences? Okay, so once the brain is like, what are my choices? It's going to start a laundry list of this one I get from this, and this one I need this. And so they're starting to make that, kind of comparison of this and this. And so when I was in corporate sales and we had a lot of competitors that did very nearly the same thing. I sold for ADP, it's payroll, human resources, outsourcing. And so I used to get really passionate about how we were different. And I would just get on my little soapbox, and I knew our differences and I would be able to really lodge them out there and like, this is this and this and this. But the mistake that I made, until I knew better, was that not all differences matter.
Mhm.
And that's the fifth process. So what are my choices? What are the differences? And do those differences matter?
Mhm.
So, Leanne, when you are in a conversation with someone and they are trying to move through that particular area, what you want to do is really uncover, based on what they've told you about their problem and how you solve it, you want to be able to make them feel absolutely 100% safe and certain that they will be able to relieve the problem they have with the solution that you're offering. The tighter you can connect your solution to the problems that you heard, the more they will see that as the choice that really matters for them. It's like,
Mhm.
no one else has talked to me about this. No one else has talked to me about that. Boy, this Leanne, she's really got me covered left, right, inside, and out. She's got the one. She's the choice that I want. So here's the secret on this one really quickly. When you talk about your solution, never, ever, ever, ever laundry list everything that you can do. Like, oh, you get 6 months free and you get this and you get 8 weeks of that and 12 weeks of this and this handy dandy this and this other thing of that, because that overwhelms someone and then they get confused. What you want to do is pick the top 3 things that will make the biggest difference in solving the problem that you've just diligently uncovered, and you tie them together. You say, okay, listen, so you said that this was a really big problem for you. You were worried. Let's go back to health insurance. You don't want to ever feel exposed that you may have a bill that will put you into medical bankruptcy. Here's the part of our package, our health insurance package, that will absolutely eliminate that worry. And you bring that piece, boom, right into the picture. And then after you've talked about that, then you said, okay, and then you said that you wanted to make certain that you had low premiums with a low deductible. That was really important to you because from a cash flow standpoint, that really fit you. Well, let me explain to you how that works with our system. And then you bring that into the picture. But the problem is that people, once they start talking about their solutions,
Right.
oh gosh, you've hit your comfort zone and you are off to the races and you can't stop them. And the person's eyeballs are spinning in their head. They're confused. They don't know why they would want it. And so they cannot tell if you're the best choice, if the differences that you have matter to them, because they're not tied directly. You're making them do the work. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. It's the same thing. I sold SaaS solutions,
Yes.
and wildly confusing because, quite often they're so customizable, and
Yes.
you don't go in and show them the entire system, or they go, oh, okay. I don't,
Yes.
you don't go in and train them on the product. You go in after the discovery and show them, here are the top 3 things you said you needed, like the system to do. Here's how the system can do that. Now it can do a ton more.
Right.
But those were the 3 main concerns that you had. And I just want to
Exactly.
show you how it can do that. It
Yes.
can also do the other things.
Mm-hmm.
But these are the main things that you really were struggling with. The usability of XYZ, the clients being able to log into their portal. They're all struggling and they're confused, and they can't pay easily, and you're not getting whatever it might be. Here's those 3 things.
Exactly.
And then you stop and go,
What else do you need to know?
I can show you more if you're interested.
Right.
But is that some of the problems that you've been having with your other system? Is that going to solve the problem? And
Yep.
usually they'll go, wow, yeah, that is dead on.
That's exactly what I want.
That is exactly what I need. And wow, is that so much easier than what we're doing right now? And that's what they want to see. They like, that solves my top 3 problems. And it
Yeah.
can do the other stuff that we talked about, because if you're presenting it to them in a way that they're seeing, firsthand, or if it's not a SaaS solution, it's something you're presenting the top 3 problems and you're saying, I can solve those. Yes, I can solve the other stuff, but these were your top 3.
Right.
You're going to go, oh, okay. You've just created trust, a massive trust of,
It is.
oh, and then those other pieces, maybe the next 5 things on their list, they're going to go, so you can do the other 5 things
That's
too.
exactly what happens. It's like, well, then because your system is so powerful, I'm just going to assume that it can do this. And you're like, yes, it can.
Right.
And don't go there. Like I used to train solution consultants all of the time on demos and how to demo software.
Right.
And it's like, this isn't a training session.
Right.
You just don't, if they say, I assume you can do it, you go, yes, you can.
And I have
move on.
I have sat in on, because I used to sell, time clock software solutions. So, implementing new time systems, and then I would have somebody come in and show, yes, we can bridge this to your payroll system as well. So very
Yes.
similar to, and I have sat through where the payroll person came in and did their demo, and I'm going,
Oh, this is horrible.
why are you training them? Why are we walking through how to enter in a new client?
Or like,
or a new,
stop.
right, I'm like kicking them under the table going, do you not notice that the entire room is like got their arms across their legs
Yeah.
are kicked back and they're like head is nodding off?
Yeah.
We
Yeah.
don't train, and a demo should not be any longer at max 25 to 30 minutes unless they say like, I really want to see like, all of this,
Right.
because you start to lose them and they're like, okay, now I'm bored.
Exactly.
So anyways,
All right.
I just, you hit a note with me there. So I'll get off my soapbox.
Well, those are the first 5 steps. If you think about it, it's want and need.
Right.
And then it's what are my choices? What are the differences? And do the
Mm-hmm.
differences matter?
Right.
And so have you noticed, and this is the part where people start going, oh, we haven't talked about price yet. I thought that they just needed to make a decision on whether or not they could afford what I'm offering them. And it's like, believe it or not, that's step 6 in the
Mm-hmm.
decision dynamics. And the way that I like to label it is cost justification. It's
Mm-hmm.
not even about price. Because really what's on the buyer's mind, and I call this a value to price ratio. So whenever you are proposing a solution to someone, you're telling them about your offer and you're listing the things and how it's going to work. The buyer in their mind has a calculator running and they're at, oh, this is probably going to be X much. And then
Mm-hmm.
you say something else, they're like, oh, this is probably Y. And it's just a little bit higher. And then it's a little bit higher. So in their mind, they are coming up with the price that they
Mm-hmm.
think you're going to put out on the table, which is why I do not encourage people to put pricing on their website. That's a whole other subject. But when you go and when you're ready to reveal the investment,
Mm-hmm.
you want your buyer to be thinking, wow, that's a lot less than I thought it was going to be. Or the price justification piece is that's totally worth it. I will figure out how to pay that
Mm-hmm.
because it is going to be so valuable to me that I will figure out how to fit this into my budget. And they do. They do. If you've done a really good job on steps 1 through 5.
Right. And what I like about your process is that you're eliminating like 75% of the objections,
Yes.
even more, probably like 85% of
Mhm.
the opportunity for them to give you objections along the way,
That's exactly right.
because you're addressing by really digging deep.
Yes.
You're you're stopping the objections before they can even happen.
Yes.
And
So,
even in the pricing section, you're positioning yourself as, well, I'm the expert. I'm offering you everything that you have said to me at this point that you want, need. This is matching all of your pain points. It's going to
yeah.
solve X, Y, and Z problem for you. So at the end of that, what major objections, if I've done my job properly through all of those steps, what objections are left? And here's where I learned early on. Somebody said to me, I said, God, they're keep coming back to me about, can we, somehow get the price down here? Can we, minimize the price here? And my boss years ago said, is this worth your time? And I said, what do you mean? I mean, I'm so close to getting this sold. Yeah.
Mm,
Is it worth your time? How many times are you going to go
mm,
back, rework your
mhm,
price? I said, well, yeah, but it's so close. And he goes,
mm-mm.
if they buy on price, they'll leave on price.
Oh,
And
so good.
in a year from now, this client that you spent a month renegotiating and hours upon hours trying to figure out how to get them to buy from you is going to leave you anyways. So any
Mm,
residuals that you had are going to be gone. And I'm
oh,
like, oh. And he goes,
mhm.
sometimes you just need to look at him and go, this is my
Best I
price,
can do.
the best I can do. And you are welcome to walk away. But I will tell you that this price is going to offer you everything that you need, everything that you told me, and the service
Yeah.
that you asked, and the reason you're leaving the other place that you
Right.
And if you go to another company, you are probably in a year from now going to be looking again for
Mm,
a new service.
yeah.
And that got drilled into me. And for the first time, as in my younger career, I realized, oh, it's okay to tell a client we're
Oh,
not right for you,
yeah. 100%.
or a prospect, not a client.
No prospect. Yeah. 100%.
Because
Yeah.
then you free yourself up to be able to go after the right clients
Hmm.
who understand your value and who are going to buy from you and stay with you because you did you sold them at the right price. You're making a decent commission. They're happy with your service. And it's a good relationship. But anybody who's nickel and diming, they're buying on price. They're never going to be happy. And
Hmm.
they're probably going to turn into that, where the salesperson's standing by the water fountain going, oh God, this client is driving me absolutely crazy. And do people actually stand by the water cooler anymore?
The virtual water cooler, I think.
Right. Right. So that, again, I'll get off my soapbox, but that was probably the greatest advice that I had ever gotten from anybody was,
It is really good.
yeah. Yeah. So, well, so now do you do a training on the 6 steps a buyer's brain goes through to make decisions?
It's kind of interesting because so I offer something called Business Momentum, that has 5 formulas in it. And one of the formulas, and it's in essence your entire sales and marketing blueprint. When you're done
Mhm.
with it, the sales formula is one part of that blueprint. And in the trainings I do in the sales formula, that is at the core of everything we talk about. How do you have a sales conversation? What's the process and the flow look like? What's your message sound like? That whole, go down and pick up one feature and tie it to a problem. This is, Leanne, most of the time when people say they don't like to sell, it's because they really have never learned how to do it in a way that is so comfortable and authentic that they feel pushy and sleazy, So yes, that's part of what we do. And it's called the She Boss Pro membership within the She Boss Cafe. And the name of the product's Business Momentum.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
And it, I'm sure that, well, I shouldn't say I'm sure, but there was definitely a time in my life where I'm like, how do you not feel salesy, pushy?
Yeah.
And as I grew into, a more confident woman, a more confident salesperson, a more confident me, I think
Hmm.
that's the key. A
Yeah.
more confident me. All of the sudden that kind of went away.
It goes away. Yeah,
It absolutely goes,
it does.
because you become your authentic self, and all of the sudden those conversations become real.
Right. And you're not
I
afraid to ask questions. I think a lot of times people, when they're new to sales, they're worried about asking questions because this is my experience. They're afraid that they're going to be exposed for not knowing enough. Right. So when I was in selling for human resources and payroll outsourcing, I was sitting in front of CFOs. I never was a CFO. Right. And I would sit in his office and I would think, oh my gosh, if I ask him that question, he's going to say something that I won't understand or be able to really connect back to it. Right. So it's really just learning how to get comfortable with the
Mhm.
person you're going to be communicating with in a way that, like you said, just be yourself.
Right.
You hit me with something I'm not quite sure I understand. Can you help me? Help me understand that a little bit more. Right? People love to talk to you and to help people and to, talk about themselves. So asking the right questions and not being afraid to ask follow-up questions is the way to authentic selling.
And same thing. I had that fear of, am I supposed to know what that
Mhm.
acronym means?
Yes, exactly. And then you
Like,
just laugh and you're like, okay, boy, you're talking alphabet soup here. Tell me, explain what
right,
you just said to me.
right. In your younger years, you're like, I don't know. Does everybody in the mainstream know what
Yeah.
that? And then and here's what really helped me as a young salesperson. And, for the younger salespeople out there, just questions are never bad,
No.
especially in sales. Even if you think, well, am I going to come off sounding stupid? Am I going to come off sounding like I don't know if you don't ask the questions,
Mm,
that is where that's where you're going to be in a world of hurt.
right.
The thing that helped me is that I was given the opportunity to go out on sales calls with multiple other people, because the company I work for, we did a lot of cross-selling.
Mhm.
So cross-selling payroll services, cross-selling insurance, cross-selling. So I got to sit and watch some of these people who were 5 years in, 10 years in, 15, 20 years in,
Mm,
and I got to see all of their different styles.
wow.
And they were asking questions where I was like, oh, yes, I'm not, I don't want to use the word stupid, but I'm not, crazy. I knew that acronym was weird. And so it gave me the confidence. So don't be afraid too, if you have the opportunity at your company to say, can I shadow this person? Or ask another sales, can I shadow you sometime on one of your calls? I
Yeah.
just want to see how you do it.
Mm, mhm.
Or ask for a mentor. People love to mentor other people.
Oh,
Some
they
people.
do.
So people in essence love the opportunity to help other people. I do. I love the opportunity to
Mhm.
help other people.
Yeah.
So, well, Susan, we are coming to time. This has been such an amazing conversation. I can't thank you enough for, one, your expertise, two, your generosity and your time and coming on and talking with me today.
Pleasure.
Um, if somebody wanted to reach out to you to learn more about your She Boss Cafe program, or your masterclass training,
Mhm.
Unstoppable Women in Business, how do they reach out to you?
They can find me all over the place. The best place to find me is I do hang out in the cafe all the time. So shebosscafe.com tells you all about the cafe. There's lots of free resources. The Getting to Yes Faster masterclass is inside the cafe. So it's right there, as well as lots of great women and events that we have. I'm also hanging out on Instagram at Unstoppable Women in Business is my handle, YouTube, LinkedIn. You can find me anywhere.
That is absolutely amazing. Again, thank you, for coming on, and thank you to the listeners. Please make sure that you like, share. Another episode of Love Your Sales is a wrap.
Thank you. Nice to be here.
Thanks for joining us for Love Your Sales. For more, connect with Leanne on LinkedIn and be sure to subscribe to the show and leave us a rating and review. We'd love to hear what you think. Looking for a way to take your sales process to the next level? Visit us at loveyoursales.com to find out more about how Leanne can take your organization to new revenue heights. And be sure to join us next time for more great ways to love your customers so they love your sales.